In terms of political reality, I would think that will become a political liability from them. And you've been working with the Democrats, your fellow Democrats in Congress, to make sure that Democrats have a positive message to offset whatever the Republicans are doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've spent a lot of time, obviously, responding to the erratic behavior of this president and this administration and holding them accountable in every way that we can, and obviously fighting hard to protect and improve access to health care. But we also wanted to be sure that we had developed a really strong economic agenda that really spoke to the economic anxiety of working people in this country and really focuses on very simple but important ideas of, first, creating better jobs that have better wages that produce a better future for American families, and really focused on kind of three key areas. One is raising people's incomes so that, we know that virtually all of the growth and wealth has gone to the people at the very top, and people in the middle class and working folks have not seen an increase in their incomes for decades. And so even though there are
stagnant at best,
huge increases in productivity, but it's all gone to sort of the investor class and people at the top. So raising people's incomes is the first priority. The second priority is reducing the costs in people's lives, whether it's childcare or whether it's education or whether it's healthcare, just helping families reduce costs of the things that they experience every day. So raising incomes, reducing costs. And then the third bucket is really how do we increase and improve the skills that folks have for the jobs of the 21st century. There's a lot of anxiety out there for folks who are looking for work and can't find it, or for even people who have a job that might be working 2 or 3 jobs, or have some anxiety about, I know I have a job now, but am I going to have a job 10 years from now? Do I have the skills that are necessary in this rapidly changing economy? So we launched this with a real commitment to put forth very specific proposals over the next several months to support this agenda, because people don't want. We know that the system is rigged, and people feel like it's totally stacked against them, and they're right. They're working as hard as they've ever worked. They're working 2 or 3 jobs, and they still can't get ahead. And that's not just a coincidence. It's because the system is rigged against them. So we also have to commit to fixing the system and unrigging it. But when we announced this Democratic agenda, we included some very specific examples. One on reducing the cost of prescription drugs, which is a big priority for families, a cost driver, by allowing the Medicare to negotiate discounted prices, by creating an ombudsman to really prevent gouging and to bring greater transparency to the pharmaceutical industry. We also included
on that point, when you look at the cost of drugs, and you can go online and do this, right? I mean, the cost of drugs from the UK or Canada or wherever, it's just startling, the difference between what people pay for that same drug in the United States. And I don't know whether it's legal or illegal if you buy it from Canada.
Right. And we have virtually...
And again, not being able to negotiate with them, even though we're by far the largest purchaser of prescription drugs, the U.S. government.
That's
correct?
Right. And the prediction is that allowing the government to negotiate discount prices, just the way, your listeners, when you go to Sam's Club, you get a discount when you buy in bulk. It's a very simple concept. And we would save tens of billions, not million, billions of dollars.
Have to.
And that would be passed on to the consumer. And there's only one reason that didn't happen: the power of big pharma in Washington. It was written into the law, and this is an example of where people understand the system is stacked against them. This is totally rigged, which is why we also have to get dark money, and we have to reform our campaign finance system so we remove the influence of money in our political system. But that's just one example of we can fix this. We can respond to this issue. We also made a commitment to create 10 million good-paying full-time jobs, in part by rebuilding the crumbling infrastructure of our country, doubling the investments in apprenticeships and career paths. We know the successful models where apprenticeships have really led to good-paying jobs. The president spoke about that, but the president's budget zeroes out federal investment in apprenticeship. So, when people say, well, aren't some of these ideas something that President Trump said? The difference is we're actually going to do them. So, making sure we invest in job training and apprenticeships so that we can create good-paying jobs. And then the third area we spoke about
is, if I can interrupt you again, is anything happening on infrastructure? I mean, this was the one area where Donald Trump talked about it. Bernie Sanders talked about it. $1 trillion infrastructure. And God knows we need it. And again, the jobs that would create, plus the safety that would provide in terms of safer roads and bridges and water plants and everything. What's going on?
In my view, especially as a former mayor, I think this is a national disgrace. We once had the infrastructure, roads, bridges, ports, the airports that were the envy of the world. And it's just not the case anymore.
No.
And we have not invested in infrastructure in the way we should. It's not only a way to put people to work right away, and it's not just the people doing the construction, which is important. It's the engineers, it's the city planners, it's the cement manufacturers. I mean, there's a lot of related industries. But it's also, as you point out, it's a public safety issue. If we don't, we have had a bridge collapse, we're going to have more things like that because this infrastructure doesn't repair itself. And the longer we wait, the more expensive it becomes.
Look at this tunnel into New York, into Penn Station.
Right. I mean, it's just, and, if we're going to really rebuild the economy of this country, we've got to be able to move goods and services and information to compete in a global economy. And you look at what our competitors are doing, they are literally racing by us, literally and figuratively investing in, massively in infrastructure to compete. And so, you would think this would be something the president would make a priority. But I think my assessment of it, he was so obsessed with undoing the Obama legacy that he went to the things of healthcare, Cuba, and climate change because they were so closely identified with President Obama, rather than thinking about what do we do to actually get the economy working, get folks back to work, create good-paying jobs. And, if you're motivated by that rather than what's good for the American people, it's not helpful.
Right.